Welcome to KURE Sports on ISUtv. I'm Taylor Mankle along with Logan, Marada here and Ben Olson to start this broadcast. It is Season 2, Episode 7, and we will be here for an hour slot. Of course, we're proud to be bringing this to you on 88.5 KURE Ames Alternative as well. And a reminder before we get started that the views and opinions expressed during this talk show are solely those of the hosts and other contributors. These views and opinions do not represent those of KURE, the KURE Board of Directors, or any other contributors or supporters of KURE. Now, with that being said, let's get into some hot takes. Starting off with NCAA football. We're going to start there because that was some kind of weekend for us.
Oh, man. No kidding.
Some kind of turmoil. The college football gods, if you will, were not pleased with how things were going, so decided to shift things up a bit. 3 of the top 4 teams going down. Oh, man. What are your guys' thoughts after this weekend unfolded? We'll start with you, Ben.
All right, well, I'm just going to go out and, got to say it, we're in Ames here. The Hawkeyes pulled it off, and I did not think that was going to happen.
No.
I was waiting for a Clemson loss, and I think we all should have seen it coming, that the rankings and everything was just going to get thrown up in the air. Stuff was a little too set in stone for college football. But I think Alabama's the team to beat, no doubt, and I don't know, after that, we got the last week has got some big games that we're going to have to look at.
Absolutely. Logan?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much touched it right there, but, man, the committee's going to have their hands full tonight trying to make a decision. Just based off the rankings, looking at the AP rankings right now, I think there's a lot of teams that will have an opportunity to prove themselves going forward. We might see a 1-2 loss team get in now, which is going to be interesting. And then we'll see that conversation that we've had the past few years with the college football playoff. Will the conference championships make a difference for all these top teams? So that'll be interesting. And then just one question I had addressed on here. Do you guys like the 4-team playoff format? Or do you think they need to move to an 8-team? What do you guys like?
Of course I don't like it. I think it's set up for failure. I think 4 teams in college football, it's too big to just go 4 teams. Granted, I realize that you want the cream of the crop in those games, but deciding what the cream of the crop is makes that even so much more difficult. But, you look at it, and it does add drama that there's only 4 teams, but I think you would still have that level of drama with 8 teams. I think it'd be a little less, but I still think that the exact same draw, if not even more so, would be for an 8-team playoff. I don't see any really downside to the 8-team playoff other than a potential maybe having to cut off 1 game of the regular season to allow that in the schedule, something like that. But I think the 8-team is the way to go, and I think it is something that we're going to see here pretty soon. What are your thoughts on the 4-team playoff?
Well, the way I look at it, there's just way too much parity in college football nowadays to be able to pick 4 of the best teams.
Sure.
And I like an 8-man format, and I thought about it, like, how would that work? And, like, if I was a bigwig in NCAA, I would be gunning for, if we could get the Power 5 champions all in a playoff, and then there'd be 3 at-large spots left. And then you look at a season like this with Western Michigan in the MAC, undefeated. They're up to 14 in the AP rankings now. I would love to see them in a New Year's Six Bowl this game. But if we moved it to an 8 playoff format, there'd be 3 at-large spots, and you could put 2 of the next best teams, and then maybe 1 best non-Power 5 team in there. And then everybody would feel like they got a fair shot. And I think that sticking with the 4 is just, people are going to keep arguing.
Yeah, I don't see any way that they stick with the 4. What do you think? Do you think that continues? I think it's a given that it stays for a couple more years because anything that's implemented takes a couple years to put into place. But do you think this is long haul? Is it going to be 4-team playoffs when we're old complaining about the same things?
It's tough to say. Like you said, the NCAA and pretty much any sports industry for that matter is pretty resilient to change, especially in a playoff system like that.
You saw how long it took them to change the BCS.
Oh yeah.
10 to 12 years people wanted that thing changed.
And there were so many flaws with that as well. This isn't a perfect system by any means yet. I think we'll see the switch to an 18 playoff maybe within the next 5 years, especially after a year like this where there's been so much parity, like you're saying. And I think if we see a scenario, maybe just as a hypothetical, where a Louisville gets in over a Clemson in the top 4, that raises a lot of debate, who should have been in, who shouldn't have been. So you're coming up with those same issues you had with the BCS, and I think eventually they will kind of move to that. where you give, mid-majors opportunities to get into the playoff, and then, multiple teams from Power 5 conferences.
It would not surprise me if Clemson goes to the ACC championship game and loses,
Yeah.
then they put Louisville in ahead of them, even though they weren't even in the conference
Right.
championship game. There's something wrong right there.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely see that happening. Now, Logan, you posed this other question. What outsider do you think can break into the coveted top 4? So outsider being ranked, this is in the AP, correct, ranked 5th or over, and explain why do you think they can make it. We'll start off with you. You came up with a question. What do you think for us?
All right, and like you're saying, the committee officially makes their decision tonight. And,
Yep, tonight.
We'll see what happens, who they put in there. But I went with
We're
two
the
teams.
real experts.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
Yeah.
Who cares about a committee?
Exactly.
For mine, I went with one safe pick and then one kind of dark horse. I went with Washington for more of my safe pick. We were talking about it before the show. Some of you guys don't think that, they'll make it because the Pac-12 is pretty weak. That loss hurts. But I'm a little different. I think the USC loss isn't a terrible loss. USC was a team that was highly touted kind of early in the year. They fell off, but then they're kind of on the bounce back.
Oh, for sure.
And then, they have a big game, the Apple Cup at the end of the season against Washington State. Tough game.
Apple Cup.
Rivalry game. It's exciting. And then after that, they should have the Pac-12 championship pending, they finish first.
Pending the Apple
Yeah,
Cup.
exactly. So whatever happens there, if they get past those few humps, I think they should be in. And then my dark horse was Oklahoma, and I think Oklahoma, despite their early season struggles, they've gone undefeated in the conference. They've run through pretty much everybody in the Big 12. So I think the committee may be more forgiving of those losses, especially if there's another upset at the top. So I think that could potentially get Oklahoma in. It's a long shot, but they're my dark horse. So.
What do you think, Ben?
Well, I really agree with that dark horse pick with Oklahoma. I think if they can have an impressive performance in the Bedlam game last week, then and win out, that might give them a good boost. But for my pick, outsider, I was going to go with Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They had that one touchdown loss to Michigan, not at all a bad loss, even though Michigan lost this last week. But
to Iowa. No, I'm just kidding.
But then you look at their other loss was to Ohio State at home on a heartbreaker. They got a solid, hard-nosed, they're that Big Ten team that you're typical, and the committee loves those. We know that.
Yeah.
So I could easily see them winning the conference championship game now that Michigan went down and that Ohio State,
Only wish, right?
Ohio State lost to Penn State, and Penn State is hot, but I see Wisconsin getting a good chance of getting in there.
I think the easy one that Logan went with, Washington, has to be mine here as well. I think that people will start to see, because I think USC's trends will continue for the rest of the season, them on the up and up. I think they'll finish as probably a top 15 team. Well, I think they jumped into that 15 slot this week, so I think they maintain that, if not grow upon that, through the end of the season. And when that's all said and done, I think that one-loss Washington, if they can keep it one loss, but after what I saw from them last week and Jake Browning, I think that Apple Cup, we've had it circled on the calendar all year long. I'm a huge Apple Cup fan, but that's getting more and more dangerous for the Huskies. But I think they are the most likely 5+ to make it into the college playoff, because I think the Big Ten will continue to just beat up on each other for the rest of the year. I could see a couple more big losses that could just turn over all kinds of things. And if there's too many of those, who knows what the committee will do? I, by all means, don't think they'll do this, because they're going to have at least one Big Ten team in there. But who knows what happens? Maybe the Big Ten, if they continue to beat each other up, will get knocked out of the big dance, the playoff. But I don't see that really happening. Now that we say that, let's go into the Power 5 conferences right now, and it seems that everything is really up for grabs right now. So let's break down who you have winning each of the Power 5 conference. We'll start with the one I was just mentioning in the Big Ten, and we'll start with you, Ben.
I am going to have to go with Ohio State sneaking in there.
Okay.
And actually, I don't know, they got a good ranking, and I could see them, despite their Penn State loss, I could see them punishing Wisconsin even more. After heartbreaker, I could see them proving themselves and winning the Big Ten championship.
Okay. Logan?
I think everyone has it down to Ohio State or Michigan at this point. I'm going to go with Michigan.
Yeah.
Despite their quarterback being out now.
Yeah, he's out.
For the season?
Well, they say probably the season. I mean, maybe he'll come back if they're in the championship game or something. But
it's tough. I'll stick with them just for the gut. pick of picking Michigan. I picked them last week, kind of a hot take to win it all, which might not pan out well now. But I'll stick with my gut. I'll stick with Michigan. They got a lot of skilled players on that team, and I think they match up actually pretty well with Ohio State and how they play. So we'll see how things go down in the Big Ten.
The question mark for Michigan has been the offense all year for me, especially at the quarterback position. And now they have a quarterback that wasn't as good as that guy, as Spates was, as Spates more than likely out for the season. I think that just tips it over the edge for Ohio State in this one. I think the defense for Michigan will hold their own, but at the end of the day, even if Ohio State scores once, can Michigan respond to that? I don't know if they can. I think that's why Ohio State has the advantage here as the favorites to win the Big Ten. Now let's jump over to a very interesting question now in the ACC. We'll start off with you, Logan. Who wins the ACC?
Much like the Big Ten, this is pretty much down to two teams that are on the same side there. I'm going to go with Clemson just right now as the safe pick, just because they have that lead, they have that head-to-head win. But if something happens potentially there, I think Louisville will win it if it's not Clemson.
Okay.
Well, I really think Clemson has to win out to get in the playoff. But they have a next game coming up against Wake Forest, who just was ahead on Louisville at halftime, gave them a nice scare. So I would not be surprised. Clemson's luck seems to be running out lately, and they had that surviving win against NC State. I would not be surprised if they lost. But I'm going to have to give it to Clemson. They'll go to the championship game, and North Carolina is actually going to steal the ACC championship.
A little rematch from last year.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. And I assume that would get Louisville in the playoff.
That's a bold prediction for the night.
I want to see Louisville in the playoff, but the head-to-head means so much here. And the last two games of the season for Clemson just don't scare me at all. So with that fact alone, you've got Wake Forest and then South Carolina to finish off the year. I don't think either of those two teams can pull it off against Clemson. Granted, I didn't think last week they would lose either, but that happened. Regardless, I think that you gotta stick with who won the head-to-head. I'm gonna go Clemson here, go into the championship game, and I think they take care of business there and get into the playoffs. So they're my favorite in the ACC. Now let's jump over to the Pac-12. Obviously, Washington suffering their first loss of the season. Does that change your opinion of where the Pac-12's headed, Ben?
The Pac-12 is so up for grabs right now after Washington's loss. Just about all the top teams, Colorado, USC, Utah, Washington State, and Washington all play each other in the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. But I'm going to have to go with USC after a good win over Washington. I think they're going to stay hot, and they've got I think they have the last game coming up against Washington State that they have to win possibly. Yeah. And if they can get that, then I think they're going to win out.
Yeah, that's a tough game. It's tough for me to pick Washington because even if they win that game, they go on to play the Pac-12 championship, which I believe is potentially, is it Colorado?
That would be, right now, it'd be Colorado or USC.
Yeah. Okay, so potentially those two teams. I think the USC matchup, it's tough to beat Washington twice. I'll stick with Washington as my safe pick as well. But, man, that's a tough marathon. If they can't get past that Pac-12 championship game, I think it'll be Colorado. So,
man, I didn't like what I saw out of Washington's Jake Browning last week.
Yeah.
Loved what I've seen out of him all season. Did not like his decision making in that last game. Was not accurate whatsoever. And man, I have loved every single week of Wazoo football that I've seen, minus the first 2 weeks. Obviously, they lost their opening game, and then the game following that, one of them was to
Eastern Washington.
Yeah.
I was looking at
just
that.
two nobodies. And then past that, they have been fantastic. Mike Leach has done a great job turning this team around. By God, I'm going to go with it. Wazoo. As the Pac-12 champions.
Going to pass their way to the...
they're 7-0 in conference. They're leading the North. So right now, if the season ended right now, they would be, obviously they have the Apple Cup coming up, but they would be in the Pac-12 championship against Colorado. I think they're a better team than Colorado is. I've got Wazoo right now going and winning the Pac-12. That's...
Hey, if Washington's offensive problems keep up, it wouldn't be surprising to see Washington State take it to them because that's really where their strength is, passing the balls.
It would have to continue for them to win that game, to be honest with you, because the defense for Washington is far superior to Wazoo. It'll have to be a shootout for Washington State to win that Apple Cup last game of the season. Cannot wait for it, by the way. But Washington State does have home field advantage for that game, so you got to look out for it. It's been on my calendar all year long, and I can't wait for it. But let's move on to another conference here, Big 12. Logan, who's going to win the Big 12?
Oh, man, I would love to see a representative of the Big 12 in this college football playoff. So I will go with Oklahoma, but I really think it comes down to that matchup between them and West Virginia.
Okay.
And whoever wins that, I think will go on and win the Big 12. But right now I'll go with Oklahoma. So
Ben?
It definitely comes down to that Bedlam game, but I agree. I think Oklahoma's going to win out the rest of this year after 2 tough losses early.
Yeah.
But I could possibly see them sneaking in. And I'm normally a big defender of the Big 12, but this is a down year for football.
Not this year.
Yeah.
It's hard to defend it this
So
year.
if Oklahoma could get in there, that'd be impressive.
I think it's a unanimous table right there. I think Oklahoma's the best team in the Big 12. I think they'll show that to finish off their season. And I really hope it's enough to get them in the playoff. Granted, I would probably have them losing in the first round of said playoff, but I think it would be good for the Big 12 to fight back from the start of the year they had, to be resilient and get into that Final Four. So now let's finish it off with the stupid question. There are such thing as stupid questions. Who's going to win the SEC, Logan?
Vanderbilt.
No,
I'm just kidding. Bama, Roll Tide, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Alabama. What was it? The SEC West champion has won the division or the conference the past 9 years or something like that.
That sounds about right. I think the last one from the other side
Sheesh.
was, I couldn't even tell you, to be honest.
I couldn't. Probably Florida.
Florida?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have to be
Or
Florida.
LSU
Tebow.
maybe, but-
Yeah.
So you guys don't think Florida right now, they lead the East? Do you don't think they stand a chance in that?
No
championship?
upsets. No upsets of Alabama this year.
No. Yeah, see, this would be a year that the BCS would be helpful because Alabama is far superior to any other. Well, this would be a year where way back where you just kind of name the number one
there's no
team
real
at the end of the year. You don't have to play a championship game. Just
earned
give
it.
it to them. This is a year that I think that could be implemented, but we're in the playoff years now, so we'll have to deal with that. And I think we'll be just fine just dealing with that. We're going to take a break, and we will be back with some NFL talk right after this. You're watching 88.5 KURE Ames Alternative, or listening to it simulcast on FM radio. This is KURE Sports on ISUtv. Welcome back to KURE Sports on ISUtv. I'm Taylor Mankle. Ben Olson remains. Hunter Smith joins us here on KURE Sports on ISUtv, and we're going to jump into the pros now. It's NFL talk here, and we're going to start off with last week. I want you guys to give me the best game of last week. We had a bunch of different prospects going into last week. Which one reigns supreme? We'll start off with you, Ben.
I feel like this one might be a little obvious, but I'm gonna go with Dallas and Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That was a shootout there at the end. But man, Dallas keeps surprising, and they beat a Pittsburgh team that I don't know. They had a few like injured players, but I don't know what to say about Dallas, and that game just stunned me.
So you say surprised. I want to pose this question, kind of a follow-up to that. Is it still surprising that the Cowboys keep winning? I think I'm past the point where I'm surprised now. I think they're a great team. Why are you still surprised that they continue to win?
I don't know what their method is on offense, but they must have a better offensive line than I thought they did at the beginning of the year.
It's that O-line.
Yeah,
that's the heart of their
best
team.
O-line in football.
I feel like
5 years building that thing up.
They're bumping Dak Prescott up on the ratings then, because I'm just amazed that he hasn't had any rookie moments.
No, that's true. That's true. Maybe it's a system there. I don't know. I doubt it, but I think it's the offensive line that's propelling this team. What do you think, Hunter?
I went with the Cowboys and Steelers too, but just for a different game, I decided also the Seahawks and the Patriots. That one really surprised me. Granted, the Seahawks have kind of been flying under the radar this season. I mean, they're still really good, but I figured the Patriots and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady would be able to come out and kind of take care of business.
Well, you rarely pick against them in Foxborough.
Yeah. And I mean, they kept it close, but I was definitely surprised to see them not come out on top of that one.
I think Russell Wilson looked fantastic in this game. I think his injury bugs that he had earlier in the season are gone. I think that last game against New England was a defining moment in this Seahawks season, saying that they are one of those great teams. One that we thought earlier in the season were very few of because so much parity, but I think they have set themselves apart now with that top tier. And with that being said, let's talk about the top tier. And I want to ask you guys, what's the best team, or who is the best team in the NFL? We'll start with you, Hunter.
You can't bet against Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I mean,
you could last game.
That is true. That is true. But I mean, they still dominate the AFC. They still dominate their own destiny. Steelers and heaven forbid the Raiders are now making a run at it. Never thought I'd say that in my lifetime, but here we go. But
just win, baby.
Yeah. But I got to give it to the Patriots. I mean, Bill Belichick, he has that team ticking like a machine, always does. And of course, when they get in the playoffs, you can't bet against them. I mean, this is New England. You don't bet against them. So I look for them to get back into the playoffs easily, look for them to win the division, and I look for them to make a run to the Super Bowl yet again.
Best team in the NFL?
In the Patriots' defense, I think you put the Seahawks in a reverse Super Bowl situation like we had in that game, they're going to win 9 out of 10 times because they're angry, but I'm still going to go with the Patriots. We talked about last time I was on, they were on a mission, it seemed like, almost, with Tom Brady's suspension, and I just think they're just so solid that they will finish probably the best team, but my dark horse is the Chiefs and the Raiders, because those two are battling it out in that conference.
Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
I saw the stat the other day. Andy Reid is 38-19, and he's slowly working his way up every year over at the Chiefs. So
man,
it's a dark horse. I said
that's a very dark, that's so dark it's invisible there, Ben. But I'll make it a unanimous table. I think the Patriots are still the best team in football, regardless of that loss last week. I think Dallas is. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's because they play in the NFC, but I don't think their schedule is as tough as the Patriots has been. That being said, I don't think anybody's schedule is that tough this year because there's so much parity in the NFL.
It's just like college football. Everything is so up in the air this year for both divisions of football. And like you said, the NFC, who's the best, and the Cowboys, it's really anybody's league in the NFC. I mean, Vikings, Seahawks, even the Redskins are getting in on some of the action. I mean, it's really anybody's in the NFC, but, AFC, I look for those top 3 teams to really push it out here at the end.
All right, let's look at some divisions now. Who wins each division? So some are kind of up in the air. We're going to start off with the AFC North. Hunter, we'll start with you. Who do you have winning the North in the AFC?
I have the Steelers right now, and right now the Ravens are leading the division, but I don't look for that to stick around for long. This is a Steelers team that, Ben Roethlisberger, what he finished with last week? Finished with over 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Granted, they lost, but Ben Roethlisberger, he's a good guy, good quarterback. I like him. I more like what he sees for the rest of this. I'm not a Joe Flacco fan. Never have, never will. And I think that you're going to see Ben Roethlisberger come out, do what Big Ben does best, and win this division.
What do you think from the AFC North, Ben?
I think defense wins, and Baltimore has got a solid defense this year, so I think they're going to stay on top.
That they do.
Looked up third. They have the third fewest points allowed, so I don't really see anybody overtaking them because the Steelers they're kind of down. They had the potential, but they're not coming through this season. But I could see Baltimore just losing right away in playoffs. It's kind of a weak conference.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think Baltimore is going to take this division. I don't trust the Steelers whatsoever. There have been many times this season where they have the talent. They obviously have it on the offensive end. They just can't get it done. And then there's no answer for teams when the offense can't produce and they go down by a touchdown or even like 3 points, the defense can't keep them in those games to allow the offense to maybe mount a comeback. So that being said, I think Baltimore, propelled by that defense, Joe Flacco, not really Joe Flacco, mostly the defense, but I think that they will hold on. I don't think they're going to sweep away this division, but I think they'll hold on in the end to win this division. And they've been playing very well in division games thus far this season, which will end up meaning a lot. Now, let's jump over more AFC to the West. We'll start off with you on this one, Ben. Who wins the AFC West?
Like I said, the Chiefs.
Man.
I don't know what it is, but they're winning this year, even without Jamal Charles. There's no Jamal Charles.
There's never a Jamal Charles. He's always hurt.
Yeah, I hate to say that. I've been stalking him on my fantasy team, and that has not been working. But I got to go with the Chiefs. I think it's too early for the Raiders to really come through and win the division this year. But in a few years, watch out for them.
What do you think?
I cracked down this division to a science.
To a science?
A science.
What's the science?
The science shows that Denver will win this. However, you got to go with your gut sometimes.
Oh.
And I don't know what it is about the Raiders.
Oh, boy.
But I look for them to win this division. I don't think Kansas City has the stamina to win. They will not beat Denver, and as much as this shocks me, I think Oakland will get them in KC. I think that Oakland will win this division. I like the look of Derek Carr. I like where this team is heading. I like the fan base. Oakland.
I agree. I think the Raiders win this division. I truly do. I think they send Oakland away with a very good playoff run. I think Oakland is primed, especially on the offensive end. Who's the running back that they just got back a couple weeks ago? He's been running very well. Regardless, that offense is very good, and I think if the defense can play like it did against Denver a couple of weeks ago, I think this will be a team that will for sure win the AFC West. I like what I'm seeing out of them. And now, perhaps the worst division in football. Let's go to the AFC South. We'll start off with you, Ben. Who wins this ugly, ugly division?
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans. And it's sort of a shocker because, I mean, was Tennessee even good last year? No. Have they ever been good? No. But Mariota has been playing impressive ball lately, and their run game is solid. That seems to be kind of a theme this year in the NFL. But so I'm going to go with Titans.
Yeah, DeMarco Murray ran all over the Packers last week, and Marcus Mariota had a very good game. What do you think here?
I got to go with Indy. They're 2 games back right now, and that is a hot pick to be taken. But the AFC South is always so wide open. The Texans are flighty. I still don't trust the Titans and Marcus Mariota. And the Colts, Andrew Luck, I look for this team to make a comeback here in the second half of the season. Is it going to be enough? It's anybody's guess. You got to see how this division pans out and who wins what, where, and when. But overall, I look for the Colts. It's been a rough first half of this season, but I think that they're going to be able to make a bit of a comeback here in the end, possibly to even win the division.
Yeah, I've been looking at that as well. A little partial to the Colts myself, but just looking at the back half of their schedule, it's a little more favorable. They play a lot of division games, which is huge. Obviously, next week, I think, or this upcoming week, really will decide who wins the AFC South as they play the Titans. Whoever wins that game, I think, is going to win this division. I don't trust Houston at all. I like that a lot. You said they're very flighty, but then they host the Steelers at home. That'll be a tough game as always, but then they travel to play the Jets. Then they have the Texans at home. They play the Vikings following that, which doesn't really look as that much right now, Ben. Sorry to say it. But then they go to Oakland, which is probably the hardest game left on their schedule, and then they finish off the season at home against the Jaguars. I think the Colts have the ability with that remaining schedule to take the AFC South. Now let's move on to the NFC North here. We'll start off with you, Hunter. Who wins the North?
Been a tough last 4 games for the Vikings, but I still got to stick with them. Aaron Rodgers, what is going on with the Packers? No one can put their finger on it. And Aaron Rodgers is starting to point fingers now. This is a team that's starting to fight with each other. And I don't think that they're going to be able to come together and do what they've done in the past. Lions are the Lions, so I can't give a good bet towards them.
Hey now.
And the Bears, it's been a while for the Bears. I can't give it to them. So who do you have left? Minnesota and that defense.
You got Detroit. I'll tell you
I
what.
can't give it to Detroit. I can't.
Matthew Stafford is going to win this division this year.
Joe Flacco and Stafford are right here for me.
Oh, come on.
Of the heap.
You can't just...
You can absolutely do
Joe
that.
Flacco and Matt Stafford?
It's in your gut, man.
Oh, man. All right, Ben. You're a Vikings fan. Who wins the North?
I'll tell you what, I'm going with a reverse jinx strategy here, and I'm going to say the Lions are going to win the NFC North.
Detroit.
Because they have one of the easiest schedules if you look at it.
do.
One team over 500 maybe. But let me tell you about my Vikings. If you had told me at the beginning of the year that we would be 5-4 right now with 2 starters from the beginning of the year on offense, I would be overjoyed.
Overjoyed.
But just we went 5-0 and then we lost 4 straight. We just took a funny way of getting there, but I'll tell you what, I still believe.
That's what I was going to say. Saying 5-4 at the beginning sounds all right, but then you say, well, we went 5-0 and then 0-4.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah,
it's a little different taste, huh?
It's just a little different
Because you
tweaks.
tasted the victory.
Well,
you liked how it felt, and then it left you.
That Lions,
It dumped you. It closed the door.
Yeah.
It took everything back.
Well, I got to say, the Vikings have a way of doing that. That Lions-Vikings game, if the Vikings win that, I'm not ruling them out.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, the head-to-heads do mean a lot. And let's jump a little more, go a little over our time here. And season shockers. Which category has surprised you most this season? Is it the goods, the bads, or the ugly? We'll define those as the goods as the Raiders, Cowboys, Patriots, the bads as kind of the Panthers and the Packers. You could probably even throw the Colts in there. To be determined on how the rest of the season go. And then the ugly, the 49ers, Bears, and Browns. Which is most surprising to finish off NFL? We'll start with you, Ben.
I got to go with the good. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought Oakland, I think it's too early. Early Super Bowl prediction, 2018, Minnesota Vikings against the Oakland Raiders. You heard it here. But I'll tell you what, I was surprised by Oakland. I'm surprised by Dallas. Not surprised by the Patriots.
No.
And I think at the end of the year, I don't think Oakland and Dallas will be there. I think they're just too young, both the teams.
Hunter?
I got to go with the bad. I wasn't I'm not a huge Cam Newton fan, but he's crying all over the NFL right now about how he can't get a call and everything else. And then the Packers, no one really knows what's going on with Aaron Rodgers and this team.
No, that's confusing.
Yeah, so I got to go with the bad on this. The ugly, is ugly. I wasn't expecting the 49ers to be this bad or the Bears to be this bad. Browns can kind of be expected.
Yeah.
But, I got to go with the bad on that one.
Yeah, I think I want to go to the intermediate between good and bad is the most surprising for me. I thought the Cardinals would be way better.
Yeah,
that's the
that
most
is
surprising
true.
team in football. The Cardinals are they've got every piece they would foreseeably need on that team. They just cannot win. It's weird.
They bring Warner back.
Kurt
Warner, baby.
Kurt Warner. Well, he calls games for Arizona now,
true.
so he's kind of still there. Regardless, we're going to take a break. We're going to be back with NBA right after this. You're watching KURE Sports on ISUtv. Welcome back to KURE Sports on ISUtv. I'm Taylor Mankle. Logan Marada back at the desk. Michael Mainzer joins us for the first time here today. Glad to have you all with us. And a reminder that we are simulcasting this on 88.5 KURE Ames Alternative, and the views and opinions expressed during the talk show are solely those of the host and other contributors. These views and opinions do not represent those of Iowa State University, KURE, the KURE Board of Directors, or any other contributors and supporters of KURE. Man, I cannot tell you how many times I've said that in my last 2 years.
You got it on lock.
Oh,
I have
man.
to say that.
I mean, if I didn't, I'd be severely disappointed in myself.
If you don't have a career in journalism, you can always be that guy that's like at the end of the
end of,
commercials, like just reading the
commercials.
fine print. Like,
Yeah. Side effects also may include. All right, let's jump into NBA here on KURE Sports on ISUtv. We're going to start in the rumor mill. First off, we're going to talk about a man who really spends some good old time in the rumor mill. Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins. He just doesn't get along with anybody, always wants to leave, but Sacramento will not let him go. Will it change this season? Is Boogie going to leave? Will they let him leave? What's going to happen here? We'll start with you, Michael.
I don't believe he's going to leave. It's one of those mills where I think that DeMarcus Cousins just always seems to be in it because of his attitude and not so much because of the fact that he will actually get traded. That they're not going to get a deal where they get enough value in return, and with that, I don't think he will get traded. But I do expect in the future, whether it be a year or two, him to leave that team, whether it be free agency or maybe still a trade or something like that. But in the next couple of months, will these rumors that have been circulating happen? I don't think so.
Logan, what do you think with Boogie? The curious case of DeMarcus Cousins.
yeah, I know. It's tough, man. The guy doesn't seem happy anywhere he's at. It doesn't seem like a lot of teams want him. He's a cancer to the locker room, as a lot of people would say. But I would say if there is a team that would pick him up, I'd say it'd be the Boston Celtics. An interesting one. They're a contender. They're on the brink right now of being below the threshold of that 8 seed.
They seem to be somebody who is always in the running when anyone is in the rumor mill.
Yeah, and that does seem like the case. It was the case in the offseason with Kevin Durant and many other players to mention. I heard Klay Thompson's name come up in the rumor mill as well, and he's also on Boston's radar. I think another big problem is they don't have Jay Crowder right now as a scorer. They're in desperate need of a scorer, I think, and another identity, or having another scoring identity other than Isaiah Thomas on that team. So that's the only reason I see Boston being another team.
Has
but
Horford played yet?
I don't think
he has. Did he?
I think early season, but I'm not entirely sure on that. But yeah,
do you think Horford and Cousins could coexist?
Yeah, that's a
because Horford is naturally a center.
I mean, he's played power forward before.
Yeah, at Atlanta.
Well, I don't think they get along.
Also with Joakim Noah back in Florida. So.
I mean, I don't think DeMarcus Cousins gets along with anybody.
But you do mention Boston. Brad Stevens is a good coach that he could go to. I think Miami's not a terrible fit. They like to add superstars.
They've got Whiteside, though.
They do have Whiteside, though.
And
that could be a
really
possible trade, maybe.
I was going to say, with Boston, you don't have a ton of huge personalities, really, either, where, he's
That's the thing. Like, what would Boston have to give up?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Thomas and probably Horford.
And that's why I just don't see a trade happening with Cousins. He's just so valuable, but is a team going to give enough back because of his attitude? That's why I feel like free agency has got to be where he leaves.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate. Now, Klay Thompson, you mentioned it, Logan. He's come up in trade rumors, surprisingly, at least surprisingly to me. Where do you think, or who do you think leads the pack, and maybe is it Boston that leads the pack here in potential maybe contenders to grab this very high talent on the market?
Like we were just saying, Boston's always on the radar, I think, especially at this point where they're a competitor. They're not the top team in the East by any means. They're behind where they wanted to be. There's a couple other teams. I think the Pistons could be a team where, they have a lot of guards already that are back there, but maybe to bring in some star power. We've seen them do that in the past. But yeah, I don't know, probably one of those East or West contenders, I would say, are really the teams that are shooting for Klay Thompson or DeMarcus Cousins right now. I don't see anyone really outside the playoff picture looking for this.
Not to be a downer once again, but if I had to predict, I would say he's not going to get moved. Just the way the Warriors have been playing, he's had a slump, but he's still Klay Thompson. He's still been the heart and soul of that team. But at the same time, we did see, I mean, no one expected James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook to all be playing on the same team. So that's why we do give attention to these rumors. It's because some crazy things have really happened in the NBA, especially not over the last 5 years, but this past year. And so these rumors are not always to be taken lightly.
For sure. Now let's get into some teams as a whole here. We're going to start off with the Clippers, who continue to win. I'm going to say it now. I'm going to start this topic. I don't believe in them. What do you guys think? Are the Clippers now considered contenders this early in the season? We'll start with you, Logan.
I wasn't a believer to start with, but with how they're playing right now, it is just hard to deny it.
You've drank the Kool-Aid, Logan.
I'm drinking it right now. I will say that much. With how Chris Paul has been playing, especially at his age too, keeping up that consistency he's had throughout his career. And then with the return of Blake Griffin, I mean, they've just looked so unstoppable in the post. Until they get slowed down, I'm going to say, they're a contender.
Could you pass me some of that Kool-Aid? Because I'm drinking it as well. Let me give you a couple stats about the Clippers. CP3 right now averaging 19 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 steals per game right now. They're number 1 in the NBA in defense at 92.2 points allowed per game. They've beaten the likes of the Blazers, the Spurs, and the Thunder, and their only loss during the regular season so far was a 2-point loss to the same Thunder, who they've also beaten. I think that the Clippers Kool-Aid is real, and they should join the likes of the Spurs, Warriors, and Cavs when it comes to NBA contenders.
I don't think so. I mean, you talk about their big wins. They've got 2 very good wins. I'll give them that. But I don't know. I don't think their defense is going to be there when it comes down to it. The offense is great. I'm not going to deny that their offense is great. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, when the season really gets into it, the offense cools down and the defense heats up, as it always does later in the season. They don't have what it takes to be in that top tier, like the Spurs, who have that great defense, like Cleveland, who has that competitive spirit that puts them ahead of the rest, especially in the Eastern Conference, or like the Thunder, that have simply the depth to outweigh anyone in the NBA. I don't think you can consider them that top tier they do have a lot of good offensive prowess, but I don't think they have the defense to be mentioned up there just yet. All right, now let's go into a question that you posed. Why don't you ask it to the great audience?
So we mentioned Rookie of the Year odds and MVP odds towards the beginning of the season. Assuming neither of them have seen it, I'm going to ask both of you to predict what Joel Embiid's odds to win Rookie of the Year are right now.
Joel Embiid, the process. You go first, Logan.
All right. I mean, I presume he's the leader right now among Rookie of the Year candidates. So I'll go like 5-2 odds. Is that?
So plus 250.
Yeah.
My math is correct here.
Plus 250?
Yeah.
Do you want like a plus number, or do you want
I was thinking
either works.
Either works? Oh, he's got it down.
I hopefully either.
Got an odds maker in the house too.
We didn't have any of them last week.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anybody really is impressed. Let's go. I'm going to go real good odds on this. With the way he's been playing as opposed to all other rookies, let's go 3-1 odds.
3-1, so minus 300. That's an easier one. You're a little bit closer. It's minus 150. So right now he is the favorite. And if we look back, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. Obviously, he hadn't played in 2 or 3 years. He was way in the plus 1,000 range, and all of the actual first-year rookies were some of the guys that were towards the top of the list. For comparison's sake, he's at minus 150. Number 2 is Chris Dunn of the T-Wolves at plus 600, and number 3 is Brandon Ingram at plus 900. So right now, the Rookie of the Year race is one of the more weirder ones, considering usually you've got a lot of tight battles. But Joel Embiid, I mean, he's averaging, I think it's 18 points a game, 7 rebounds, and about 3 blocks. So he's been playing pretty great on a pretty bad team.
Do you trust the process?
I do trust the process, but only in basketball. Only NBA basketball. You can't take it in any sport besides NBA.
So you don't trust Matt Campbell's process?
Oh, I trust that
process.
Oh, you trust that?
He's not tanking.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Let's go into the game of the night here tonight. Toronto at Cleveland. Big game. Can the Raptors pull off the upset?
I think that you want them to pull off the upset.
Well, of course I want them to. I'm a huge Raptors fan.
I thought you'd say that first. I think they can. Obviously, it's a regular season game, so you're going to see upsets like this all the time, and I think that the major takeaway from this is one of their 4 games a year, and this could very well likely be the Eastern Conference Finals. Right now, they're the number 1 of the 2 teams. DeMar DeRozan is playing like an MVP candidate. I don't think that will keep up, but he's playing great. He's playing great, but MVP. I don't know if it will keep up. So it's going to be a good game tonight for sure.
Logan?
Like you're saying, DeMar DeRozan has been on fire.
MVP.
He's looked like an MVP. But that status will be questioned tonight if King James is locking him up. This is a tough matchup. Toronto has looked great this season, probably not so much as compared to last season, but Valanciunas, he's been kind of hurt, wishy-washy lately. I'm going to go with Cleveland just because they're at home. I think they're in better health right now, better standing. I'll stay with Cleveland.
Sure. So. I'm very surprised how well the Raptors have started this season, especially with Jared Sullinger, the big-time off-season acquisition to kind of help out on the offensive end, obviously losing Bismack Biyombo on the defensive end, so you get a lot of rebounds out of Sullinger. They haven't had him all season. Damari Carroll, hasn't played much all season. Valanciunas, like you said, a little wishy-washy. They've had to play a lot of Jakob Poeltl and their other freshmen this year, which they didn't really want to at this point of the season. They'll have to continue to do that in Cleveland tonight. I think they've got a chance in this game, considering how well DeMar DeRozan has played. First player since Michael Jordan to score 30-plus in 8 out of his first 9 games of the season. Incredible numbers he's putting up, and I think that he'll put in a good fight. I don't know if it's going to be enough for them tonight, however, in Cleveland against the Cavaliers, who are favored going into this game by 6 points. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to be back with some Iowa State men's and women's basketball right after this. You're watching KURE Sports on ISUtv. Welcome back to KURE Sports on ISUtv. I'm Taylor Mankle along with Michael Mainzer staying at the desk and Andreas Haffar here joining us. We're going to talk some Iowa State men's and women's basketball. We're going to start off with the men's team. And they're just coming off a win last night, the second regular season win of the season. Wasn't a very pretty one against Mount St. Mary's University. 73-55. Wasn't a very pretty game, to say the least. So let's break down this game to start off with. Who impressed you or didn't impress you? If you want to answer that on both sides, feel free. We'll start off with you, Andreas.
I'd say Elijah Long impressed me. I mean, if he played for Iowa State, no problem. But I think who impressed me, I like Solomon Young a lot.
Yeah.
I know there are other big names in that team, but I really think when he comes in, he has these like 4 or 5 plays where he can do a lot of great things. I remember in the game against Savannah too. It was like, come in as a freshman. I think that's impressive to say the least. I like to say Stu Neslick, but I mean it was. But no, he didn't score this time. No. So I don't know. For me, Solomon Young, he wasn't like the flash. That's obvious. But I think as far as the future goes, Young looks good. He's showing signs that it's a good investment, and for the next 3-4 years, whatever it is, I think he'll impress. He'll be a real staple to the Iowa State side.
I think you're right. He shows potential, but I think there's a lot of troubles in those waters with Solomon. The fouls. They're a huge problem for Solomon Young. He played 11 minutes, picked up 4 fouls. In the game previous to this, he played 14 minutes, he fouled out. Come on, guys.
That's a big thing.
You got to get better there, but the rebounds are obvious. That's what he's going to add to this team, and I think he has the ability on the offensive end as well to contribute to that in years to come. But I think rebounds, he's instant rebounds. I'm interested to see whether Steve Prohm thinks he needs him for this year.
Sure.
I wouldn't be opposed to see a red shirt for Solomon Young. I think he's too much of a talent, though, however, to have Steve Prohm do that to him, put the red shirt on him and save him for next year, even though I think that would be very good for his next year team, because we don't really know what to expect out of that team considering the senior leaders that will be leaving at the end of this year. Who impressed you in this game against Mount St. Mary's, Michael?
There's not a whole lot of guys. Obviously, the defense was very solid. I did like Solomon Young and how obviously he's having a lot of fouls, but he posted up very well. But I'm going to go with Deontay Burton. He had 13 rebounds, the only guy over double digits. And just the offense in general really needed a spark, and he kind of gave it to him in the second half. But overall, this game was very messy, as you mentioned. Defensively, I think a lot of people are forgetting that there's defense too, and Iowa State started to lock down a little bit better. Obviously, they've got the 1-2-2 half-court press that Prohm likes to kind of throw out there. They have a 2-3 zone they sometimes use, but I'll go with Deontay Burton, and then also give credit to Nick Weiler.
I was going to say,
in both of these games, I mean, it's the first time we've ever seen him actually play in a Cyclone uniform, and he has impressed me. He's impressed everybody, I think, and he's kind of the new. He's not Jameel McKay. He's obviously a wing, but he's the new alley-oop guy. He's going to be the one that Monte Morris. He's giving the alley-oops
Those dunks, man, I'm loving them.
Yeah, I think Nick Weiler-Babb is definitely somebody to look out for as his future unfolds here with Iowa State. He's a very exciting player, and Steve Prohm has been very high on him, and his teammates have been very high on him throughout the season. Many quotes saying that he could go down as one of the best Cyclones of all time, which is high praise here at a basketball-oriented athletic school. So let's jump forward and talk about just the team as a whole, not necessarily just about last game in Mount St. Mary's. Give me a hot take of this team as the season. Most of it is ahead of us. We'll start with you, Michael.
I don't know how much of a hot take it would be, but I say that they win every game from this point on until Cincinnati. Not saying they're going to lose against Cincinnati, but I think that
I don't think that's a hot take.
All right, I'll go a little bit.
No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I was thinking between Cincinnati and one of their first conference games.
Yeah.
But either way, I think a lot of people are concerned they might lose 1 or 2 in non-conference play just because.
I mean, they only have 2 games in between Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And then I thought they had the Invitational.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's 3. Still up in the air. Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure who they're going to play.
But basically, if their offensive woes are them not being able to hit these shots, this looks like it will only really happen once every 3 or 4 games because they have so many shooters. Monte Morris is still playing pretty great.
Oh, yeah.
Naz Mitrulong, Matt Thomas. Their offense isn't getting open layups. It isn't getting amazing shots, but so many players on this team can hit contested shots that I think that's actually becoming okay. And obviously in the last game, it's not a great opponent, but the defense looks better.
Yeah.
So I think that they could almost even have a better record than last season overall. I'll go with that. The 25-12 mark they had, I think they can top that even though they don't have George Niang and those guys.
Do you think that has anything to do with the current stance of the Big 12?
I think it does a little bit. Obviously, we saw Kansas lose their opener to Indiana. They play a big game tonight against Duke. But yeah, Iowa State. I mean,
that's how to kick off a season.
Yeah, that's how to kick off. You want, as an Iowa State fan, you kind of want the Big 12 to do well because you are part of the Big 12. But at the same time, you kind of want Kansas to lose because you want to be able to go in there and beat them.
All right, now Andreas, give me. We've talked about some players here, but give me a player to watch for the rest of the season.
Well, you kind of said it. I think I like Solomon Young, but it is Nick Weiler-Babb. He's so there's eccentric and yes, he was redshirted, right? Or was he? He was redshirted last season.
Because he transferred
in. I think with the high praise, he's going to be really great. I think as the team, though, I think they really need to work on 3-pointers, free throws, and not giving away needless possession. But I think with Nick Weiler-Babb, that really adds a new element. Kind of a surprise for students and fans that didn't really know much about him, and now they seem like, who's this guy? Well, he could be the new face of the Iowa State Cyclones.
And we've mentioned Solomon Young, we've mentioned Weiler-Babb, we haven't talked about Donovan Jackson still has to come and do his own. I mean, this team is 9 guys deep, and the biggest problem last year that was said by everybody was they don't have depth.
Yep.
And this year, within the first 8 minutes of that first game, and also in the second game pretty much, Prom was throwing out guys left and right. He wasn't even letting them get in a rhythm. He was just throwing out guys.
He already got in the rhythm. Get out.
And we've mentioned all 9 guys at this point. I don't know if we ever said Darrell Bowie's name. He's been playing pretty well.
He was all over this.
All 9 of those guys.
Really good,
it's going to definitely be an addition for them.
Absolutely. And obviously, Iowa State will play next on Sunday. That'll be broadcast on the KURE Sportscast. Make sure to check that out at KURE885.org/sports. And of course, you can tune in tonight as the Iowa State women will play against UNI once again at KURE885.org/sports. It'll be Mary Rominger and Jacob Lee on the call. So let's start to break down this Iowa State women's team. Obviously, off to a good start as you're expected to be. Not supposed to have lost a game yet if you're a Big 12 team. So what sticks out about this team? Who are you seeing a lot of that you like thus far? We'll start off with you, Michael.
Well, I might steal the limelight here, but I think the major story, the major takeaway is Heather Bow.
Yeah.
She comes in as the transfer and 12 points, 8 rebounds.
Bovey.
Excuse me. 12 points, 8 rebounds, but 7 steals. That's pretty remarkable in one game. The
She's
team
active,
overall had 15 steals in their opener. One concern I guess I would throw out there is that they only hit 3 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Which is very unlike them.
Which is very unlike them.
Very unlike.
But they were 3 for 8, so it's not a bad percentage. But like you mentioned, it's unlike them because they hit 208 last year. So we'll see how Bill finally expects to adjust, or if he's just playing a low post game for now.
Yeah, and it was a different game to say the least because Iowa State this year in particular, you're going to see them shoot a lot of 3-pointers. They might be another year where they live and die by the 3. That was kind of a outside the box. They knew that the rims weren't really working in their favor. They weren't hitting a lot of them, so they decided to go inside, still able to beat UC Santa Barbara. So, Andreas, you tell me, who have you seen that you like, or what have you seen out of this team that you like thus far?
You have Shauna Johnson back. That's a huge asset to the team.
Yep.
She had 16 points against UCSB, preseason All Big 12, and not for no reason. She's a key element to the team. I'm looking to her and Bovey. I think maybe that connection will work out for the team. You still have Jada Buckley too. There's a lot of good leadership within the squad, and I think Johnson is huge to maintain, and going forward, like you said, live and die by the 3. She's going to be a huge point scorer. Yeah, for me, it's Johnson. I think the transfer in Bovey is awesome, but Johnson, I'm always looking to Johnson, especially taking the team by the scruff of the neck last season. When it's a rough season, injury-prone players and stuff like that. But yeah, Johnson for me.
She also had 8 free throws in the last game, so
that's what she's known for. Yeah.
Not just 3-pointing, but also being able to get to the rim.
Yeah, she's implemented more 3-point shooting into this year than she has really in the past. She's off starting that a little more than she normally would. But I think Shauna Johnson, obviously the returner in the Big 12, coming back to the Big 12, being the leading scorer and the leading rebounder in the Big 12. And that's one of the best things about Shauna Johnson that I just love. She's a guard who will get down there, get dirty in the post, and rebound better than anybody else in the Big 12. She was talking about media availability just yesterday, about how she feels that it's just all about who wants the ball more. Shows you how much she cares about this game, how much she wants to win, and I truly believe she'll be a huge part to this game. You mentioned Jada Buckley. She will also be huge as she transforms her game from point guard back over to shooting guard, as they'll have Nia Washington addition this year, who will definitely take over some of that point guard play and allow Jada to play more of the 2, allow her to shoot and open up her offense a little more. This is an exciting season for the women's basketball team as they look to get back on the winning trend, back into NCAA tournaments and all kinds of stuff. And just one more reminder to tune into the broadcast tonight. That'll be on KURE885.org. Once again, that is Mary Rominger and Jacob Lee on the call on the exclusive KURE Sportscast. Make sure to stay tuned. I'm Taylor Mankle for Andreas Farr, Michael Mainzer, Logan Marada, Ben Olson, and Hunter Smith, and our fantastic crew here at ISUtv. Signing off for tonight, this has been KURE Sports on ISUtv. Have a peaceful good evening.